We got it.
There you go. Look at that. I just have to stand next to it.
Good job.
Sometimes that's all it takes.
It's not up yet.
Yeah.
There it is.
Oh my gosh.
It's a good lesson for life. Sometimes all I
Now
can
we
do
have
is
to go
just
back
show
over
off.
to there. Yeah.
And
we should be up.
Alright. Try again.
Alrighty then. We should be back up, so I guess you're gonna have to check. So look, if you're over at North and it's all looking good and everything, let somebody know so they can let us know. And while you guys were off, we did all of the good stuff and all of the great stuff. And so here we're going to go back over just a little bit of it. I just want you to know that we most often connect up with people that we have proximity to. That is important for us to know that if I'm going to keep people, if I'm going to stay at the bowling alley all of the time, every day, 5 days a week, I go bowling, what's going to happen?
Your wife ain't going for it.
Your wife ain't going for it. You're going to learn how to go bowl and all. You're going to usually have a relationship with someone who's a bowler. Right? Same thing goes, like you said, if that person's in church, that doesn't make them a good person. That makes them a church-going person, but you're gonna have a relationship with some of those. You're gonna have a relationship with the people that you are around. So what that tells me is, like you said, I'm gonna be around the people that I know that I can look at and tell that those people are positive people. You know, if somebody says, you know, okay, we're going to go down here, but there's a good place down there to go fishing and everything, but everybody that's down there is a convicted murderer, and I may not go down there. I may not want to be hanging around that place. If I really decide in my life I don't like bowlers, or if I really decide I don't like bakers, I ain't going to the bakery. Is it working? It's not working? Ah, come. But see, the main thing, the main reason I like to do this, I can see myself. I can't see any of y'all, but I can see me. You know. But here's the deal. One of the things that I want to look at this morning, and you know, this concerns me a little bit because, you know, I don't know all that enough about this stuff, and when I put it up and it doesn't work. But it's not me, and it's not Miss Sierra. She does know. And she came by and said, and Sergio knows, and we did all of that stuff, everybody that knows, and it's still not working. Okay, there's a glitch, and we'll need to figure that out, right? And they will.
Push it out the way and do your thing.
Yeah, I ain't worried about it. But see, I'm looking at me, and I like this.
If you surround yourself with IT people.
Yeah. You're absolutely correct. He said, surround yourself with IT people, and pretty soon you'll know what that's about. I will tell y'all this, that I am taking a course right now. When I get finished with that course, I will be IT certified. Now, right now, I can barely, turn the thing on. But, a year from now, I'll be IT certified. Y'all know what a certified IT person makes? How much money?
A lot more than you do right now.
A lot. She said lots. It could be lots to some people. It's an average of $49,000 a year. That's not lots. I was thinking you get through all of that stuff and you learn all of that stuff and you can come in and do all of that stuff, you can make 80, 90. No. So anyway, one of the things I want you to know is when we start looking at people, when we start looking at maybe getting a relationship going on, it makes a real big difference how we feel about us, how we feel about who we are. Do you notice that these people here are wearing glasses? The girl's got green glasses on and the guy's got blue glasses on. What's that tell you?
Guys are smarter than girls.
Guys are smarter than you. That's not true. Yes.
You color pretty good.
But look, this is my belief system. Here goes. This is what I believe about myself. And as I'm looking through my glasses that have on them my belief about myself, what do I see? I see my belief about who I am. And if I'm good, positive, I believe, man, I got it going on and all of that stuff, that's what I believe, then that's going to go through. That was Miss Charnel. She came in yelling, hollering. She didn't even care we were on camera and everybody in the state of Texas. She said, it's all about Charnel. That's what it was. So if I'm looking through that, whether I'm looking through a belief system that says I'm a good person, I'm positive, I'm upbeat, I'm all of that stuff, or I'm looking through one that says I'm a piece of trash, that's how, if I'm looking through those glasses that says, look, I'm low life, no count, no good for nothing, then when I look for somebody to be my life mate or be my mate for the moment, I'm going to be looking at that level of person. I'm going to not desire, but deserve to have that level of person, because look at who I am. So I deserve to have somebody that's going to beat me. I deserve to have somebody that's going to run around on me. I deserve to have somebody that's not going to take care of me. I deserve somebody that's how I'm going to feel about myself, so I'm going to get that. If I'm more positive, if I'm looking through that, then I'm going to be looking for that person who's on that level, yes, sir?
So, okay, say you see yourself as a 5, you want to look for a 5?
Say that again. If I'm a 5, I'm gonna look for a 5. That's a crude and rude way to put it, but it's true. That's true. If I see myself as a 7 or an 8, then yes, I'm not going to be intimidated by somebody else that's obviously a 7 or an 8. But if I see myself as a 7 or an 8, I'm also not going to be all that attracted to somebody who is a 4 or a 2 or a 1. And so that makes sense, because if I want to have a good, happy, and positive life, I need to be with good, happy, and positive people. Yes.
I'm a 3. How they ended 10?
You're a 3, and you ended up with a 10. Not everybody's as smart as they ought to be. Not everybody is as smart as they ought to be. Many people have negative core beliefs that cause harmful consequences to themselves. I have some core beliefs about myself. Can I be a bad person?
Yes.
Yes, I can be. Have I been a bad person?
Yes.
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
Me too.
I don't want to be. I don't want to be, and I'm working diligently not to be, but I can do that. Thank you. The other thing is, have I been a good person?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I be a good person?
Yes.
Yeah, I can be. But I strive to be a good person as I go forward. So we have to begin challenging negative core beliefs. If you need to identify what negative core beliefs are, if you don't know what they are, let me share some of them. One is I'm unlovable. I know most of you guys. Some of you I know better than others, and you can be unlovable, right? I mean, we've known each other quite a while. You can be unlovable sometimes. We've been unlovable together. We've been unlovable at each other, But yeah, sometimes if you feel like you're unlovable, let me tell you something. It's hard for people to love us, right? These are things we think, I'm not good enough. These are negative core beliefs we need to get rid of. Because I am good enough, right? You need to be removing I'm a bad person. I have done some bad things in my life, but I'm not a bad person. Right? I have done some bad things. But look, I felt I felt shame, guilt, and remorse over those things, and I came out the other side of them, and I'm not the same person I used to be. I have done some bad things. I've stolen stuff, killed a few people, done some things. But that used to be me. That's not me anymore, right? So I have done some bad things, but look, my bad things don't define me as a person.
What's bad to you, Gunner?
What's that?
What's bad to you, Gunner?
What's bad to me?
What's bad to you?
Like you said, you done some bad things. I just want to know.
I just told you, but you wasn't listening. You were over there talking to those guys.
Listen,
Just told the whole crew.
that's not bad.
So that's not bad.
Just because you killed a few people, don't make you a bad person.
That's exactly right. Thank you.
Because they probably deserve it.
If you feel like you're stupid, look, we don't have any stupid people in here. We don't have any stupid people in either group.
Just a little.
We have some. There's some people a little low cognitive operationally sometimes, but we're not stupid people. We're not. You need to know that.
There's a dictionary.
You can do anything you put your mind to do.
What about ignorance?
Ignorance, ignorance is wonderful. I love ignorance because here's what ignorance is. Ignorance says I don't know, and if I don't know, I can learn. So if I'm ignorant of a lot of different things, right? I'm ignorant of going into outer space. I ain't never been, don't know what that's like. I would like to, but you got to have $500,000 to go. And at this point, I'm ignorant of what it feels like to have $500,000. I just don't. I don't. That just means I just don't know. And so education can fix every bit of that. So that's good. Yes, sir.
You have a good point. Those who are willing to learn. What about those who are not willing to learn whatsoever? Period. Don't matter what you try to help me do. Can't pull them up.
What do you think? So if they just will not learn, decide they don't want to learn, what they gonna stay?
Ignorant.
They're gonna stay ignorant. Yeah, they just are. I'm right. Like I just told you guys, I'm going through a computer course. Why am I going through a computer course? Because Sergio knows more about computers than I do. All right, and I just don't know. I'm ignorant of a lot. You know what I was going to, and they have those little ribbons up on top of your computer. I'm going through a course now, and they're telling me what each and every one of the. And I've been looking at those things for 30 years, and I never knew what they meant. I do now, and so I'm not ignorant of what they mean now. And we're going farther and farther into that stuff. And this morning, I get up about 4 and I started studying this morning. And the little lady is from England that's teaching it. And she says, I'm going to show you how to cut and paste. I said, okay, show me how to cut. I've cut and pasted my whole life. I'm thinking, I know this. This will be easy. So we're going to just whiz right. She showed me stuff about cutting and pasting I ain't never thought of. So, okay. All right, that's good stuff. Yes, sir.
Control C button.
Yeah, all of that. Yeah, she's going through all of that. I have a list of the control functions there's thousands, well, not thousands, but there's a bunch of things you can do with that. So anyway, I'm not stupid. I'm ignorant on a lot of things. Some of us feel like we might be ugly. So one of the things, I got up real close to this camera the other day when I was trying to get it in, it came on and I saw myself in that and I said, good great. Now, I'm not ugly. I'm pretty, but I'm old. I'm pretty old, yeah. So, so some of us feel like that. Some of us feel like we're abnormal. Yeah.
It's like how they say that, Doc. They say, if you see something that looks good from far away and gets up close, it's far from looking good.
That's true. That's exactly what. That's exactly what that. And here's the deal. A lot of us look at ourselves. We think, what? I'm not like other people. I'm not normal. Look what I'm doing. I'm not. But that's not true. Because for addicts, what we do is normal behavior. Society is telling us, I would like for you to be sober. I want you to stay sober. Our families are saying, we don't want you to use drugs or alcohol anymore. We want you to get a job, take care of yourself. I don't want to have to pay for your food and rent anymore. That to us is an abnormal state of being. When I'm sober, that's an abnormal state of being. So, they're asking us to be in an abnormal state of being. But the other thing that's going on with us, that's normal. That's normal. And a lot of us that go out will relapse because we think we're different. Nobody else has it like we do. Yeah, we do. You're not, you are special because of who you are, but you ain't special in that way. You're not the only one suffers from this. Yesterday, I didn't eat any sugar at all. Didn't eat any candy, didn't eat anything. You know, because I had been sneaking stuff here and there. Y'all know I'm diabetic, so I'm addicted to sugar. And so I told myself yesterday, I'm going to go. That's a cup.
What about your coffee?
I drink coffee as much as I possibly can, but I don't put anything goofy in it. I just drink black coffee, and that's actually good for a diabetic to drink some of it. Not I drink too much of it. But yesterday I said, well, I'm gonna get, I'm not gonna. It was actually a hard thing to do. I mean, I'm going home. There's all these little dollar stores and stuff, and they all have thousands of dollars worth of junk in them. And I have to pass by a Dairy Queen, and I'm fighting the car because the car wants to go in the Dairy Queen and all of that kind of crazy mess. So it was actually a battle for me to get beyond, all of those places where I could have stopped and I could have done all that. And if you walk through this place and the place over there, there's candy over here and there's chocolate over there, and so it was kind of hard, but I made it through yesterday. And guess what? The first thing that happened this morning, got up, came to work, walked down. I needed this cord right here. Looking at the cord, and in the offices over there, they have some blueberry muffins. Those are the ones that people lie to you about. They look at the blueberry. It's a blueberry muffin, right? It's got blueberries in it and 3 pounds of sugar. And the nice young lady says, well, you can have one of them blueberry muffins. She's trying to kill me. I'm so excited. He made 3 seconds in group. Just say that, sit down, that's good stuff. All right. So a lot of us think we're boring. Let me tell you something. You may be all. None of you guys boring. None of you guys. No, y'all not boring. I'm worthless. A lot of people feel like they're worthless. Let me tell you something. We are never worthless. We'll never get there. We'll never be there. You are of great worth. Just not because you have so much stuff, not because you're doing this or that, but because of the fact that you're a human being. So you are of great worth. The God of the universe loves you, no matter what.
Love you too.
No matter what. You're not worthless. You're worth great bit. I'm undeserving. If you're not worthless, then you certainly can't be undeserving. Undeserving means I don't deserve to have a good life. How many people? Well, don't answer it, but most of us have done some things we're not really proud of, right? We've done some things we're not really proud of, but does that make us undeserving? No. Have we ever done anything that we were proud of? Yeah. I've done some things that I'm proud of, and I know that you've done some things that you're proud of as well. So we are, look, no matter what's going on in our lives in the past, we still are deserving of having a good future. If we weren't deserving of having a good future, I wouldn't be here, would you? If my future, if all I deserve in my future is what I had in my past, then why am I trying to make any changes? So, I'm supportive of all those changes. So, here's the other thing. If I ascribe to spirituality, if I believe that there is a higher power, then what I'm going to be able to do is take my thoughts about myself, my thinking about who I am, my thoughts that I may not be what I'm supposed to be, and then I can let that go and let that higher power take care of some of that stuff. Because no matter how I feel about myself, he feels about me a completely different way. So that's where we need to go with all of that stuff. Now, real quickly, what does it mean to be codependent?
Depending on someone else to help.
Say it again.
Depending on someone else to help.
Depend on someone else to help you.
Feel like you can't live without somebody.
Feel like you can't live without the other person. You said earlier, just being able to depend on that person. Codependency is a disease to start with. It's just like alcoholism. And when we're alcoholic or addict, a lot of the time we'll get into those addictive relationships, and that's one of the things that makes it so hard for us to say, okay, I'm going to leave this place and I'm going to stay away from those old people. It's not just that I love that person. I'm addicted to that person. I cannot not go back to that person.
It's not just a person either. It's anything. Like people are codependent on pills.
Yeah.
Methamphetamine.
Yeah. You can be codependent on almost anything, but the one that's the worst is being codependent on another person, because that person, just by them walking into the room, can change your mood because of who they are. They can change. They can walk into the room and change the way you feel, change the way you feel about yourself, feel about what's going on around you, and just change your mood. So this is what this is the definition of codependency, and you don't have to memorize it, but there's several of them. Codependency is an unhealthy pattern of coping with life as a reaction to somebody else's drug use or alcohol use. This is how I deal with life because he's drinking. This is how I deal with life because she's using cocaine. Because they use cocaine, and the fact that they're using cocaine or heroin or whatever their drug of choice is, it is affecting my life in a negative way. So that's part of codependency. It is a dysfunctional pattern of living and problem solving, which is nurtured by a set of rules within the family system. That also, you remember when you were growing up, my dad's favorite words were, children are to be seen and not heard. That's a family rule. So if I had something that I needed to discuss, who do I discuss it with? Well, sometimes I could go and discuss some things with Mom, but his rule was not just for his relationships; it was for anybody in the whole family system. I don't know if y'all noticed that girl walking through there.
Yes, we did.
Who was that?
That was Miss Caitlin. She walked through there. You know what she did? What she was doing when she walked through there? Y'all know it? She was eating a chocolate-covered donut with nuts sprinkled on the top of it. Man. So you know why?
That's true.
It is. It is true. You know why they sprinkle those nuts on top of those donuts?
Make it up.
They want to make you think. You're an addict. You're a diabetic, and you're eating a chocolate covered bunch of sugar, and on top, and you can lie to yourself. Well, this chunk of sugar here, and it's healthy, like he said. Oh, that's healthy. Then you got a nut on there. That's like that candy, They say sometimes you feel like a nut, and sometimes you don't. They got that nut in there, and it's covered with chocolate, and it's got all that sugar and all that junk in there, and you say, well, I'm eating a nut here. Yeah, okay. So anyway, that was a little trickery. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. So here's the deal. The original definition was brought about by the substance use profession to mean a person, now look, this is good, a person addicted to the addict or the alcoholic. I'm addicted to that. Why do you think it is that people, they know this person's toxic in their life? They know they're going to beat them. They know they're going to treat them nasty. They know they're going to use all the money. They know they're going to get them kicked out of their house. They know they're going to get their car destroyed. They know they're going to lose their job. They know they're going to chill. The CPS is going to come get the kids and all of that kind of junk. But as soon as we get out of treatment, where do we go? Right back there. Right back there. Why? It's not because, and I have people tell me all the time, you don't understand, I love you. No. It's beyond love. It's beyond love. If it's going to get to the place where I may not live through the relationship, that's not love. That's addiction. So I'm addicted to it. So you had something?
It slipped my mind, but yes,
Okay. It jumped on him, so.
Sometimes people are addicted to lifestyle.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point. He made a point that sometimes people are addicted to the lifestyle. I am. I'm addicted to that lifestyle. So if I go back into that lifestyle, that's where I'm going to wind up staying because I am addicted to that.
So does codependency always have to be negative? Is it always?
Usually, look. Usually, when somebody he asks the question, was codependency always a negative thing? Usually, yeah. Usually, but there's always that outlier out there. Remember, there could be somebody out there who is codependent on somebody who is super duper positive, has a job, has a home, has a car, has a bank account, doing really, really well. And this person doesn't believe that they can live without that person. So no matter what, they're going to stay with that person. Where it gets perverted is when that person is not that person who's super positive, and then they're that person who is, in the other way, super negative and all of that kind of stuff. And they can do all of those things, but I'm going to go back to it. Still in all, it's a disease that we don't want to be involved in. Yes.
What about a sponsor or something that's pertaining to your recovery?
Yeah. That's a good point. That's a good point. Well, but here's the deal: should you allow yourself to get codependent on your sponsor?
Not really.
No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't allow yourself to get codependent on anybody. And because codependency means that I can't live without that person.
What about in early recovery?
In early recovery, still, that's probably where you're more likely to have that issue. But when you see that, if I feel like I can't live without my sponsor, I'm getting another sponsor. I know that today. My wife is getting a little older. I'm getting a little older. I pray every day for us to have long life. And there's some good things to be said about longevity. So I want her to hang around. I want to hang around. But if I die today, she's going to go on living. She ain't going to die. Because she's not codependent on me. She's dependent on me. She can't open bottles of water. I have to open the bottles of water. So she's dependent on me to open bottles of water. She got her one of those opening the bottles, and she still can't open the bottle. So she's dependent on, but she's not codependent. Codependent means that if I die, I'm going to die too. So, yeah, and you can be dependent on your sponsor. You're dependent on him to be there when you want to call him and talk to him and stuff like that. But we're not codependent on him.
So can you give the definition of dependent?
Dependent is healthy, and it just means I'm giving what I get. I'm dependent on you to give me this, and I'm going to give you that. We depend on each other to fill certain needs in our lives, right? I depend on my boss, Mr. Farmer, who was just here. He depends on me to come up here and do this group on 5 days a week. He depends on me to do that. And I depend on him to sign my check. He signed my check. And so that is dependent on one another. But if I tell Mr. Farmer, I'm not going to come back to work here, he ain't shutting the place down. He's not going to go cry and go back to California and die on the side of the road because Dr. Garner didn't do the group anymore. And if if he calls me up and I'll go down the hall and he said, "Look, I don't need you anymore." Okay, I'm dependent on him for my check that he writes every couple of weeks. But I'm not codependent, so I'm not going to die. I'm not going to quit working. I'm not, those other things to do. So we're dependent on one another. We're not codependent on.
But codependent would actually be a person who can't live. A person who just without wanting another person that's dependent on to do everything basically for it.
Yeah, and here's where it comes from. What do you have?
Well, I'm just saying, codependent is the same as co-defendant.
Oh, okay. Kind of like codependent. Yeah, the thing is that What codependency means the definition is I am addicted to that other person. How many people know that we're dependent on a lot of people? I'm dependent on the HEB to have groceries when I get there. I'm dependent on when I flip that switch for the electricity to come on. I'm dependent on all of those things, but I'm not codependent on it. Because if I go by HEB down there and they don't have any food, what am I going to do? I'm going to go to Walmart. Probably not Walmart. I'm going to go to Kroger, a Market Basket or something like that. Market Basket. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. Yeah, stuff like that. So another thing is, look, the term codependency has changed and it has grown in definition. So here's a few more definitions of it. An unhealthy pattern of coping with life as a result of somebody else's drug use. I have to do certain things to deal with life, to cope with life, because my partner, my spouse, my relationship partner is using drugs or alcohol. I have to lie to people about that. I have to call and say, well, she's not going to work, or he's not going to work, or whatever, because sick this morning. He's hungover. So it's a dysfunctional pattern of living and problem solving, which is nurtured by those rules that somebody sets up in our lives that sometimes are not what we actually need. This is something I don't like. It's something I don't want to do, something I don't need to do, but there's a rule in my life that says I have to do it, and I didn't set that rule up, you did. That's not, that's codependency. I'm going to do something, and that applies to a whole lot of people. I'm going to do things the way I do things because you said so. I'm going to do things the way I do things to keep you happy.
Thank you.
I'm going to do things the way I do things to keep you from being angry. I'm going to do things the way I do things hoping you won't be right? I mean, that's codependency. I'm addicted to that person. Every moment that I live with that person is a bad moment. Every moment that I stay with that person is not good. But I'm going to stay with that person because I'm addicted to that person. I don't know how to live without that person. A lot of people tell me, they're suffering codependency and stuff like that. I talk to them. I say, look, you've been beaten up, all of this kind of stuff. You don't have any money. You don't have a house. You don't have a car. Why are you going back? And so what do they tell me most of the time? I love him or I love her. I love him or I love her. All this kind of mess. So there's one more thing about what codependency is. It says an emotional, psychological, and behavioral condition that develops as a result of an individual's prolonged exposure to and practice of a set of oppressive rules. Rules which prevent the open expression of feelings as well as the direct discussion of personal and interpersonal problems. Sorry. There's a whole bunch of these. But I'm going to share them with you. And I'm all choked up. I can't. I don't know.
Got some water?
No, this is kind of like water.
What's the thirst?
It had a little something in it.
Ain't bourbon, is it?
They said you can't smell
That's got some propel in it. It was not vodka. It's propel.
We know you go Saturday.
I went to the gym about, this was 5 or 6 years ago. I went to the gym yesterday. But about 5 or 6 years ago, and I was working out real hard, and I had a bottle of water. It was just plain water. And I went over there to get a drink. Man, I was gone. I went over there and chugged down about 3 or 4 big old drinks of it. It was about halfway done, And I noticed when I had about the third gulp down that there was something in the water. It was propel or something. But what that ain't my water. I don't know whose slobber I was drinking, but that was So that's kind of bad. So since then, I started putting my name on my water thing when I went up there. Codependency is self-defeated learned behaviors or character defects that result in a diminished capacity to initiate or participate in loving relationships. If I am a victim of codependency, I would rather be in a relationship that is not healthy, because that's what I know. That's how I have learned to live. That's why a lot of people that's in a codependent relationship, if they leave that relationship, which I almost can never talk anybody into leaving that relationship, what do? They go back to the exact same type of relationship, back to the same type of person that they were with. It's just the most amazing thing. So, a dysfunctional pattern of living that comes from our family of origin as well as our culture, producing arrested identity development. Y'all have heard me talk a little bit about arrested identity development. What does that mean? Arrested identity development.
It's hard to. You can't really find yourself. The ladies.
Close.
You're comfortable with how you're living. You don't want to change.
That's true too. So look, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Y'all tell me, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. So we're going to start over here on this corner right here. How old were you when you first started using drugs?
10.
How old? 10. I was 8, so I got you beat. How old were you when you first started using drugs?
How old were you first started using drugs?
13 years old.
13.
About 16.
16.
About
13. They have alcohol back then. Anyway. How old were you?
6, 7.
How old were you when you first started using drugs? 8. Okay. How old were you? 15. 13.
15.
9. 12. 11. All right. So we'll come back down here. Tell me how tall are you?
I'm 6 change.
6 what?
6 is a change.
Oh, okay. A little bit over 6 foot. How much you weigh? 240. Okay, so what you have here, if he's suffering from arrested identity development, it's going to have been, that means your identity, your maturity level stopped at 10 years old. Okay, stopped at 10 years old. So his maturity level, that's arrested identity development, it stopped at 10 years old. So what we have is a 10-year-old who's 6 foot and change and weighs 240 pounds. So let us know a little bit about why we act the way we act. Sometimes you say something to a guy, he want to go fight, he want to go act like a fool. That is a 10-year-old. Or maybe that's a 12-year-old. Because we have arrested, we have to get back to that where we understand everything that happened back then. I have to assess it, take a look at it, forgive the people involved in it, get myself on a situation where I can start moving again. But you just look at how, we'll fight, we'll yell it, we'll get in people's faces, we'll do all that. That's not mature.
So
that's 10-year-old.
Mentally and physically.
Is that again?
So that's mentally and physically.
Yeah, you haven't gotten to that place where you have taken in new information and grown. Because when I'm 35, when I'm 45, when I'm 65, I shouldn't act like I'm 12, but I do. Because mentally. Yeah. So when I'm 65, I shouldn't be wanting to fight some guy because he got my place in line at the grocery store. That's a 12-year-old trait. That's a baby trait.
2, 3 years old.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Sometimes it is. So, and resulting in an overreaction to things on the outside. We're overly reacting because we're still 12 years old and pretending to be a pirate, but underreaction to things on the inside of us. No, when I hurt my feeling, or when I'm angry, or when I want to cry, I'm not going to do that because I have arrested identity development.
So if you're 8 years old and you're still, what type of toys do you play with?
What type of toys do I play with? That's where all of that comes from. We all, you got to have a boat and a car that's all jacked up and all of this kind of crazy mess. Motorcycles, airplanes, rifles, whatever it is, you've got to have that stuff because that's what you wanted as a 12-year-old.
But that's what you got to do when you grow older. I mean, you got to have. You got to have.
Okay, so it doesn't count in your life. It's different because there's that outlier. Right?
Oh, no.
You're an outlier, man. But you're right about that. Some of those things that we want as a kid, we can't have because usually what arrested identity development is dealing with your maturity level. It's dealing with the fact that you are not on the maturity level that you should be. And if you look around, look at what we're doing. We do stuff to our bodies that are just ridiculous. We put drugs in our bodies knowing that this is going to destroy me. We do things in our life that we know that is not good for us. But, that's something a 12-year-old would do because they're not thinking.
Would that be a fact for every?
No. And we talked about that quite a bit too because, that outlier, there's always somebody that life does them differently than anybody else. But they're an outlier. It's like that for most people. And it's always going to be like that for most people. Yeah, you're doing well. You weren't quite loud enough because I couldn't get everything, and I thought I couldn't hear it all. Left untreated, look, this can and does deteriorate into an addiction because usually people who own that arrested identity development want what they want when they want it, and that's because we are stuck. Yeah, because we are stuck at that level. And so, All right. And codependency, let me share this with you. We're past our time for break. Let me share that we're going on break right now.
Yes, sir.
Take 15-minute break. And since we went over, back about 20 minutes after.
Mr. Charles, be right back. We're going to sign your paperwork, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Going to sign.
Go pass it around.
All right, Mr. Charles, I'll be in the office when you're ready.
Ma'am.
I'm in the office.
Oh, yes, ma'am. On the way.
We'll finish a cup top first, so.
Yeah.
Just see.
It's your night to get down.
Oh, yes, it is.
You know right now. Yeah. So
What kind of toy? What kind of toy you got?
don't stop. Be like ride. It's just your night to get down. Well, it's calming down, huh? Man. Rack them up. Move them up. Do some pussy. Huh? Do some pussy. Huh? Do some pussy. On some pussy. Let the rhythm hit the night. Start it out.
It's the jet man.
There you go. The man of the motherfucking hour. Pulled up on the double D.
I make sure you get the GPS.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah, that's right.
Conservation. The Elementary, I was destined to see a penitentiary. Like where he opposite beside the shot in the bottom of the cabin. The cover, you know, the didn't almost take me, but they were white was gonna go. Not on the cover. And when I'm on my cover, represent all color. That summer, I had escaped from asylum. You better die. No matter when you have been represent your city, South Park. Oh, channel.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, what you get? Ooh, yeah.
Pineapple, I don't know. Pineapple, you like pineapple on pizza?
Yeah.
Pineapple on pizza. Pineapple, ham, green.
Orange chicken, Christmas chicken,
Corn cow meat.
pie, chicken.
Chicken in the corn.
Or chestnuts and bell shit.
What is that? Chinese. Bro, she's good.
Hey, remind me to tell your counselor when you get on maybe a homework group today to go on the House Center website and put in your application.
Oh, I'm not doing it no more. I got it.
You're not gonna do it?
No.
You already told DC?
But after I get my license and stuff like that, after I get home, that doesn't mean that I'm gonna call Dustin and say, hey, I want to come for a few months.
Did you tell Dustin this already?
No, I'm going to call him this after tonight.
Okay.
Whenever he comes and gets me.
As long as you talk to him.
But I can tell you this.
What?
I've learned.
What you learned?
I never make a promise. I don't use promise no more.
No, you shouldn't.
Because promises are always going to get broken.
Well,
Not always, but
Sometimes if you can't meet them exactly as you promised, you
Yeah.
get yourself
So-
reminded.
I always give my word because I'm every time that I carried my word, I've never broke. I'm gonna I'm not gonna go. This is my discharge essay that she just told me to write. I'm like, and that's another thing I've learned before I get to that. I've learned that if somebody tells me to do something, you don't wait until the last minute to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I've learned about my time here is that promises are really never promises. I can give everybody in mind that if things are going as planned, that doesn't mean that I'm not still planning on going to school. That I'm still, I want to get everything done and because going to sober living is still a part of my plan. I'm still going to get my license, get me a job. Call Justin and say, hey, here's my application, turn it in, meet with the guy, and then go from there. But as far as using and won't use it, that's the devil. I'm in God's hand. No. And like I told my counselor, Miss Sheree, a lot of my problem with drugs is of anger.
Yeah.
Of being molested as a child. And since I've shared it and keep sharing it with the group and talking about it in processing, every day I did processing. I either read stuff out of there or the stuff that I've written down. And everything that I've written down, most of it is in my photo right now. Yeah. You notice what's on the table? Look, I'm going to show you something.
This is really sir. I'm just going to take you, sir.
Oh, this is going for everybody here. So.
Make sure your head's real big and your body real small.
Okay.
I looked down here, but I didn't see it.
Did we ask Sergio?
It's working over here.
Good morning. How are you? I'm good.
But I don't.
Hi.
Having trouble. Okay, grab your books to the side.
I don't know where it is.
It is freezing over here.
That's how they do it.
Sergio, help. Help me. Somehow I put it on 360 view. I don't know what that means, and I don't know how to turn it off.
That's how you put it in
Do you know what that means?
Oh, like a drink?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There it is. 360 video. Yes, it's right. You can't just hit on 360 and go up.
Yeah.
At least you found it.
Oh.
Turn it off there. It ought to have a spot to take to turn it on.
One they have coffee in there. Better play.
Yeah, was that? I was like 4 weeks ago.
So lucky than
There you go. That's right on.
yeah. You count that? Lay out that. Count that and lay out.
Well, how does YouTube Studio?
Permanently ruined it.
That's what we come for. Crazy. Crazy. People are crazy for me.
You probably just end it and redo it. You wanna try that? Like end the stream and do it again? Cause I can't.
So they're just gonna have to deal with me having a big head.
Yeah, they're just gonna have to deal with it for today. I'm not gonna risk turning it off and then turning it back on. Error, YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. God dang it. Okay.